For our second outside running play, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the I-form H-twins halfback toss. And what I really want to talk about in this one is reading the safeties and kind of get an idea, at least against man coverage, of how you want to run the ball. So right now, if we go ahead and look at this, we can tell it's man coverage, obviously, because the way that this left cornerback, he's lined up across from the flanker right there on the left side of your screen. Now, the defense we're going to show here as far as the way this is going to be run against is right now at least a two-man under. What we need to do is go ahead and locate the safeties, and this is a cover two, obviously. It's a two-man under defense. You've got a cover two type where the two safeties play two deep coverage. And here's this guy right here. This is a strong safety. And I'll tell you this, running against this particular formation, at least this particular set and play, it's kind of hard to run against because the way that safety is going to wind up closing in real quick on this halfback toss play we're about to show here. Now, the reason I wanted to show this formation is because where the flanker's lined up, and at least initially at over here, you wind up having, if you look at it, he's lined up right there. You wind up, because he's lined up over there, you have this whole side over here wide open to run the ball because of where that left cornerback has to line up across from the flanker as far as him being in man coverage. So you have all this area, and when I see this, I'm thinking, man, there is a lot of real estate for me to run the ball to the outside. But the problem is, as I said, this guy right here, if he's not blocked, well, guess what? You're not going to pick up a whole lot of yards. And unfortunately, it doesn't always translate with the way this blocking is supposed to be set up. You got this right guard. He's blocking out to the outside. He's pulling over to the right. And then you also have this guy right here, which is going to wind up being this fullback, and he's pulling to the outside. Ideally, one of those guys you would hope would block the safety. Well, that's not always the case, at least in this two-man under defense I'm about to show. So let's go ahead and run this and just take a look at it. If he can get out to the front, we can pick up some positive yards as far as that right guard and fullback. Unfortunately, neither one of those guys go out there and block the safety, and we don't pick up the yardage that we'd like to pick up. Now, let's go ahead and look at this from instant replay, and then I want to go back and run this against another different coverage look as far as man coverage goes. All right, so we got this. We got our setup here. We're running to the outside. Now, I'd love to tell you that this fullback, or at least fullback or this right guard, is going to go out here and make the block. Well, guess what? Again, neither one of them do. Even the right tackle is pulling, doesn't get out there. So we wind up having this. One of these guys you would think would wind up going out here and blocking and get out here, maybe this guy here, or maybe this guy right here. Unfortunately, we don't get that. That guy doesn't go out there. This guy doesn't go out there. None of these guys get out here and block that safety, which kills us because they wind up going back to the inside here and blocking. And I'm like, man, if they would have just made that key block, I've got an opportunity, a lot of opportunity to make a lot of yardage as far as running down the field here. There's just no one out there except for that safety, but no one does block them. So we got to look at this. So do we want to run this against a two-man under if we see a cover two type shell? No, probably not when you run a toss play. So let's go back in here again and take a look at this toss play. This time let's run it against a cover one defense. Let's just run it against this one right here. Now this one, let's go ahead and locate the safeties and see what happens with them. There goes that safety all the way further over. So that makes a little bit better run because where he's lined up at. Look where he's at. He's lined up high up here. And for me, that makes him have to cover a lot more ground for him to have to come all the way across here. He's got to come all the way across to go ahead and try to go ahead and defend this. So let's go ahead and run this one. And you can see this time, because he does have to come all the way across, we have a better opportunity of picking up yards to the outside than we did against the cover two shell that we're looking. So against a cover one man shell, we have a lot better opportunity to pick up yardage than we do against a cover two shell. All right, let's go back and one more setup here I want to talk about, at least for a coverage look. So let's run this halfback toss play again. In this one, we're going to run it against this play right here. It's called outside linebacker fire man. Now this one is a cover zero defense, and I've said before, cover zero means there's no safety playing deep. You won't see any of these guys going over rotating, nothing like that. Sometimes you see these guys actually sneak up into the bot or sneak up further up in the line of scrimmage. These safeties, especially if they're playing man coverage, they'll wind up sneaking up a lot further up here. So he might come down in here. This guy might come down in here. But depending on what they do, it'll determine. So right now it kind of looks like, to me, if I'm looking at it, kind of like a cover two. But if you've seen your opponent blitzing a lot, you may go ahead and think, hey, I can get to the outside, because if they're playing man coverage rather than playing zone coverage, you're going to probably wind up picking up some positive yardage to the outside, such as what you just saw on this particular play that I just ran. The reason is because unlike what they did before, let's go ahead and look at this from instant replay. And hopefully this will kind of give you another idea of what I'm trying to talk about. Now keep in mind, this is all against man coverage as far as running against man coverage and then reading the safeties. All right, if you remember right, against zone coverage, what they're going to wind up doing, let's go ahead and kind of fast forward this a little bit, Against zone coverage, what they're going to wind up doing, if they're in zone coverage, these two safeties, they'd actually wind up dropping back. And then this safety actually would wind up coming over here and defending that toss play a lot better. But because this winds up being where they're playing man coverage, what they're going to wind up doing is they're going to wind up coming forward. So they're going to step up here in man coverage, and then they're going to wind up coming up forward, such as what you're seeing here. So he's going to come up, and then so is this guy. Well, his guy's going to wind up getting sucked in. He's not going to go to the outside like he did earlier. He's not going to go out here. He's going to get sucked in here. And hopefully one of our pulling right guard or right tackle or even our fullback is going to make the block. In this case, if you rewind it, you're going to wind up seeing that it's the right guard, or excuse me, the right tackle that winds up coming out here and making that key block. And that's what you're going to see. And as long as he makes that key block, then guess what? Look at all that nice real estate. I mean, there is a ton of real estate for us to get to the outside with a running back and pick up some positive yardage. And that's what you're seeing there. So hopefully, once you guys kind of try to read these safeties when you're running these toss plays or any outside run play, if it's man coverage, try to read to see where that safety's at. If you're playing up high and it looks like they're in a cover 2, you're probably not going to get to the outside as well, especially if they're in control of the safety. It's going to be harder. If they're playing against a cover 1 shell and the safety's playing towards the middle of the field and you're running that ball to that side, you're probably going to have an opportunity to pick up some positive yardage. If they're playing a cover 0 type defense and you can tell that they're in a cover 0 and you see those you see those safeties come up, and you can tell that they're in that type of coverage, then you're going to go ahead and be able to pick up some positive yardage by running the ball to the outside, depending on, again, what they're doing. So just keep that in mind as you run through these toss plays or any type of outside run play. Try to read the safeties. Go in here and do what I'm doing right now in this game, regular game mode, and just try to run some plays and get an idea as far as toss plays if they're going to work for you or not. Hopefully by reading the safeties will give you a better opportunity to pick up some positive yardage.